And I hope that at the end of the session, the technologists will have something, some take-home messages for perfect MR imaging. So we'll start. Okay. So as you all are aware, MRI is really pivotal in clinical practice, and strict adherence to the standardized protocol is crucial to increase diagnostic performance and minimize variability among different diagnoses. Okay, so before we move on to the imaging, I think every one of us as technologists should be able to give images with optimal quality. So we need to know how to optimize the images. So the main considerations of image quality are 4 parameters that you need to know: signal to noise ratio, contrast to noise ratio, spatial resolution, and scan time. And there are several parameters that influence all these 4. So there is basically the TR, the TE, flip angle, field of view, slice thickness, number of excitations or averages, bandwidth, matrix, the appropriate file selection, and of course, when it comes to the contrast to noise ratio, there are contrast agents, T2 weighted images, parallel acquisition techniques, and also activating magnetization, transfer, contrast. And each factor is controlled by certain parameters, all these parameters, and each trades off against the other. So first one, what do you mean by SNR? Now it's explained over this in this formula. So SNR is the amplitude of the signal received in the receiver coil, and it is the noise is the frequency that exists randomly in space and time. So it's a ratio of the amplitude of the signal received and also with the average amplitude of noise that comes along with the background noise. So the signal either increases or decreases relative to the noise which is inherent there. Okay, so we need to know how to control this signal to noise ratio. So we'll see the first 3 parameters: the TR, TE, and the flip angle. Now in this first image, if you see the TR, the longer the TR, there is more SNR, that is increased SNR, because TR controls the amount of longitudinal magnetization to recover. And so if we have long TR, it will allow full recovery of the longitudinal magnetization so that more vectors are available to be flipped in the next magnetization. Right? Now comparing this first images, we see this is the first image with 3000 milliseconds as TR and the second image with 4000 milliseconds. Obviously, you can appreciate the difference in the SNR. And the next parameter is T. Now, T is, it actually controls the amount of transverse magnetization that is allowed to decay before an echo is collected. Now, if you look at this, as the time goes, there is a drop in the echo, the signal. So obviously, the shorter the TE, you will be able to get better images or images with better signal to noise ratio. And over here, next parameter that we'll be looking at is the flip angle. So flip angle is actually the angle by which the longitudinal vector is flipped, right? So if you see this, in a small flip angle, if you keep the smaller flip angle, say for about 30 degrees, then the transverse component gives very reduced signal amplitude, because I said everything is what refers to the transverse magnetization. So when you choose 30 degrees, only this much is your signal amplitude. But whereas when you go for a longer flip angle, you get longer amplitude. So obviously you need to have a long TR, short TE, and a bigger flip angle, right? Now, next parameter will be slice thickness, FOV, and your matrix. Now, just have a look at this image over here. This is a slice thickness with the voxel size is 0.5 millimeters, and here it is 1 millimeters. Okay, so when you have 0.5 millimeters, the signal received by the individual pixel is less. But whereas here it is more. So this reflects or this influences the slice thickness and your FOV. So here, an image with 32 centimeters and with a 36 centimeters. And here you have 3 millimeters and 5 millimeters. So obviously, when you have increased slice thickness, you get better images. When you have longer FOV, you get you get better images. Conversely, going to the matrix, that is your phase matrix. So when you say 256 by 256 and 256 by 192, the first 256 refers to the frequency and the next 256 refers to your phase encoding matrix. So in that event, if you reduce the phase encoding matrix, the pixel and the voxels are doubled up. So obviously you get a better SNR. So in this slide, what you do, you increase the slice, going for thicker slices, going for a bigger FOV, and reducing the phase matrix will give you images with better SNR. And then last two parameters will be your bandwidth and your number of excitations. Now look at this image, okay? Now in this image, this is the bandwidth. That is, you have a broader bandwidth, but unfortunately you have good signal, but at the same time, you also have noise here. So compared to the noise over here in the first image and over here, you can see the noise is considerably less. So that means when you have a narrow bandwidth, you get better SNR, because if you take any ratio, you have a numerator and you have a denominator. So your numerator is the signal and your denominator is your noise. So obviously, if the numerator is comparatively more than the denominator, your answer, ultimate value is going to be higher. So you need to have smaller bandwidth. So whenever you're working on a system, try to choose the minimum bandwidth possible or which is available, right? But when it comes to the number of excitations or the signal averages, you can see here, it is directly proportional, the SNR is directly proportional to the number of excitations. So when your signal averages keep increasing, your SNR also correspondingly increases. Now look at this image. It's a 1.5 minute sequence with a T2 weighted sagittal image of the lumbar spine with one excitation or one signal average. And then the next one is with a 2 signal averages. So definitely your SNR is going to improve, okay? The last parameter in this will be your coil selection. Whatever gimmicks you do, whatever parameters you're going to shuffle, but the coil plays a very, very, very significant role. So you need to know where to go for volume coils, where you need to go for surface coils. For example, this is a TM joint, this is a wrist joint, and this is a TM joint. A wrist joint performed with a volume coil and a surface coil will definitely give you different image qualities. And this is a temporomandibular joint, which was done in our institute with a head coil, that is a volume coil in the open mouth and the closed mouth. But at the same time, when you look at this, it was used using the loop coils and you get better images. So your coil selection, wherever possible, go for surface coils because the region to be imaged is in close proximity to the coil and obviously you get better signals, right? The next is your spatial resolution. Spatial resolution, what do you mean by spatial resolution? It is the ability to distinguish two adjacent entities as separate, two different structures as two separate entities. Now, for that, you need to have thin slices, fine matrix, and a smaller FOV. Now, you might ask, what do you mean by fine matrix? So you need to know what is coarse matrix, what is medium matrix, what is fine matrix. So when you have 256 by 160 or 256 by 192 that we often use, in a regular imaging, that is a coarse matrix. But when you have a medium matrix, it is either 256 by 256 or 284 by 256. When you say finer matrix, the maximum possible in your platform. So it could be 512 by 512. So when I say smaller FOV, anything that is less than 18 centimeter approximately, and a larger FOV is anything that is more than 30 centimeter. But please be careful, whatever your FOV, it should fit the region of interest that is being imaged, right? So now here, if you look at these two images, what is the point? I said the trading of certain parameters you need to increase, you need to decrease them, you need to decrease the phase matrix, you need to increase the TR, but then it all influences the scan time. You cannot be having a very long scan time, so it has to be reasonable. So if you trade off between the spatial resolution, you're going to lose on your SNR. So it is like compromising on your SNR, which is not desirable. So better to have images with reasonable resolution within a reasonable scan time, yielding a better image or with an image with a higher SNR. So this is what you need to know. So, and then we move on to the contrast to noise ratio. When you talk about contrast to noise ratio, the numerator is your contrast and your denominator is again the noise. So what would you do? Now, as I said, you have parameters that influence the contrast to noise ratio are T2 weighted imaging, okay? Then you have the contrast, that is your GBCS, that is gadolinium-based contrast agents. And you have parallel acquisition techniques, and there is IPAT, integrated parallel acquisition techniques. And then you have something called magnetization transfer. Now, what is magnetization transfer? Magnetization transfer, now you have got three vendor screens on this. The Philips vendor, you can see the MTC option over here. On a GE, you can see the imaging option platform, you can see the MTC over here. You need to activate all these three. Now, what is this magnetization transfer contrast? That is actually the tissue characterization that results, or the image quality that ultimately results because of the exchange between the bound protons and the free protons because of coupling or chemical exchange. Now, where do you activate? How does a technologist know when to activate the MTC? Fine. So I'll give you a list of applications. Now over here, whenever you're doing an MR angiogram, particularly when they're suspecting an aneurysm or a very subtle details, you can activate this MTC in multiple sclerosis or lesions in the brain, then in astrogliomas, meningioma, because you can appreciate the dural tail component, and then toxoplasmosis, neoplasm, herpes encephalitis, mesial temporal sclerosis, vasculitis, and all post-contrast images in the brain, particularly when you're having suspecting meningitis or encephalitis. And then when you're looking for subtle or very small spinal cord pathologies, it is better to activate MTC. Now, these two images, without an MTC, with an MTC in the herpes encephalitis, you can see the lesion is seen very well with enhanced borders. You can see the extent of the lesion with well-enhanced borders, right? So to summarize, the parameters when it comes to optimal image quality, you should know you should have a reasonable scan time, but I also need a better SNR. So you can have reduced TR, okay, I mean reasonable TR, reduce the phase matrix wherever possible, choose the number of excitation appropriately, minimum should be 1.5, and then when it comes to SNR, where you get more SNR, you increase the TR, increase the FOV, increase the flip angle, increase the slice thickness, increase the number of averages as much as possible. But when it comes to TE, try to bring down the TE and your phase matrix. So if you do all this, you get images, reasonable scan time, you get better quality, right? So done with the image quality,